Believe you that 1 million of kilometers is a sentence of death for any engine? My Honda Civic 2004 just have to cross that mark, and the face of the mechanics upon opening the hood is a poem. Simply not they can believe it. The secret not was to have luck in the agency nor to buy the model most expensive. The secret are 21 habits advanced that the dealerships would prefer that never you knew. While the rest of the world itself bleeds paying installments eternal and suffering the depreciation brutal of a car new every 5 years, I have driven the same relic for 2 decades. The result? More of $100,000 saved and an engine that sounds better than many models 2024 that live in the workshop. In the next minutes I am going to reveal to you the pillars of the immortality mechanical. But much care, because the habit number 1 goes totally in against of what to you they have told about maintenance and is ironically that more life it gives to your engine. Are you ready for to stop off to be the teller automatic of the agencies? We start now. Same. Habit number 21. To leave the engine at idle only 10 seconds before driving, nothing more. During decades us they told that there was that to heat the engine various minutes before of to move it, especially in winter. Our fathers it did, our grandfathers it did, and naturally we assumed that it was the form correct. But that practice comes from the era of the carburetors and the engines that really needed time for to stabilize itself. The engines modern with injection electronic are designed for driving almost immediate, and to maintain them at idle prolongedly is in reality one of the worst things that you can do to them. When the engine is at idle in cold, the gasoline not itself burns completely. That gasoline without to burn washes the walls of the cylinders, dragging the film of oil that should to protect them. Besides, the engine itself heats much more slow at idle than when it is under a load light of driving. To be there stopped wasting fuel while itself formed deposits of carbon not is protecting nothing, is causing damage gradual. The technique correct that I learned from an engineer of engines is simple and precise. You start the engine, you count until 10 while you verify that all the systems be functioning, the lights of the dashboard itself turn off correctly, not there be noises strange. Those 10 seconds are sufficient for that the oil begin to circulate and arrive to the components critical. Then you drive, but here is the key, you drive smoothly. Nothing of sudden accelerations, nothing of revolutions high, only movement gentle during the first kilometers. The engine itself heats much more fast and uniformly under load light than sitting in neutral. The benefits are immediate and measurable. Habit number 20, to drive smoothly during the first 5 kilometers after starting without exceptions. This habit is directly connected with the previous and is equal of critical for to reach mileages astronomical. An engine cold is exactly like an athlete that just have to get up from the bed. The muscles are tense, the joints stiff, all the body needs a warming gradual before of to be able to perform to the maximum. To ask to that athlete that he run a marathon without to stretch is guarantee of injury. The same happens with your engine. When the engine is cold, the pieces metallic are contracted. The pistons, the cylinders, the rings, all is in its dimensions most small due to the temperature low. The tolerances between components are more tight than of normal. The fluids, the oil and the liquid of transmission are thick like honey cold. They flow but not with the ease that they will have once hot. The gaskets and seals are stiff. In that state, a sudden acceleration abrupt is like to ask to someone that he do yoga advanced without to have stretched first. Something goes to suffer damage. My technique personal during those first 5 kilometers is so strict that my passengers sometimes comment about the careful that I drive. I imagine that I have a cup of coffee full until the edge in the cup holder. Each acceleration, each braking, each turn must be so smooth that neither a drop itself spill. I maintain the revolutions by below of 2,500. The changes of speed in the transmission automatic occur early and smoothly. Habit number 19. To change the oil every 5,000 kilometers without exceptions nor excuses. Here is where I go to contradict directly to your manual of the owner, and I have 20 years of evidence for to back why. The manual of my auto says that I can to change the oil every 10,000 kilometers if I use synthetic. The dealerships modern are pushing intervals even more long, some suggesting 15,000 kilometers. But those numbers not are calculated thinking in that your auto arrived to 1 million of kilometers. They are calculated thinking in the warranty of 100,000 kilometers and in to make you to return to buy an auto new the most soon possible. The manufacturers know something that not to you they say openly. When you calculate the cost total of ownership from its perspective of business, not to them suits that your auto lasts too much. They need that you come every 5 or 7 years to buy another. The intervals long of oil ensure that the engine itself degrade sufficiently fast as for that eventually you need one new or you decide that it is moment of to change a vehicle. It is a design deliberate of obsolescence program disguised of convenience for the client. The reality technical is brutal. The oil itself degrades with the use, that is inevitable. Each explosion inside of the cylinder contaminates the oil with particles microscopic of combustion. Each revolution of the crankshaft wears out minutely the bearings, releasing particles metallic. With the time, your oil itself converts in a soup loaded of contaminants that act like sandpaper liquid circulating by all the engine. At the 10,000 kilometers, that oil already is exhausted, degraded, full of particles. Technically still lubricates, for that the engine not itself stops, but is causing wear accelerated that not you can see until that it is too late. My rule personal from makes almost 20 years is unshakable. Every 5,000 kilometers exact change of oil and filter. Not it matters if the oil still itself sees clean. Not it matters if the auto itself feels good. Not it matters how much to me they say that it is unnecessary. Every 5,000 kilometers like a clock. Habit number 18, to use synthetic oil of the highest quality available without to matter the cost. This is another area where much people tries of to save money in the place wrong. During the first 200,000 kilometers of my auto, I used oil conventional economic. I bought what was in offer, thinking that oil is oil. Almost I destroy my engine with that mentality. The point of inflection arrived when an engineer automotive friend of mine to me showed something that changed by complete my perspective. To me, he took to a laboratory where they analyze oils used. Under the microscope, the oil economic after of 5,000 kilometers itself saw like water muddy. The structure molecular was completely broken. The additives had disappeared. It was basically oil of kitchen dirty. Then to me, he showed oil synthetic premium of the same quantity of use. The difference was astonishing. The oil synthetic maintained its structure molecular almost intact. The additives still were present and active. It itself saw barely used. Not all the oils are equal, that remained brutally clear. The additives are the key secret that nobody to you explains. When you see a bottle of oil, not you are buying only the oil base. You are buying a package complete of additives chemical designed for to protect your engine. Habit number 17, to change the coolant every 2 years religiously without to matter how it itself sees. The coolant is literally the blood vital of your engine, but is probably the fluid most ignored in all the maintenance automotive. The majority of the people only think in the coolant when they see the light of temperature rising or when there is a leak visible. For then, the damage invisible already is done. I did the same error during years. I waited till that appeared problems for even to think in the coolant. After of all, the liquid itself saw clean and green, the level was correct, not there was leaks visible. All seemed to be well, but what not I knew is that the coolant not only itself evaporates, itself degrades chemically of forms that not you can see. The coolant has 2 functions critical. First, obviously to transfer heat from the engine toward the radiator. But second, and this is what the majority not knows, to protect all the system of cooling against the corrosion. Those additives anti-corrosive have a life useful limited. After of approximately 2 years of service, those additives itself exhaust. The coolant literally itself becomes acid. It begins to attack chemically the surfaces metallic with that it is in contact. Aluminum of the engine, copper of the radiator, iron of the pump of water. All starts to corrode slowly from inside. I learned this of the manner difficult. Around of the 300,000 kilometers, my radiator started to show signs of corrosion internal. Small leaks appeared and disappeared. The pump of water began to make noise. When finally we opened the system, the damage was visible. Deposits of corrosion by all parts. All because I had been using the same coolant by almost 5 years thinking that while it itself saw well, it was well. That error almost to me cost the engine. From that moment I took a decision unshakable. I mark in my calendar every 2 years exact the date of change of coolant. I put an alarm in my phone. It I treat with the same seriousness that the birthday's important. Not it matters if the auto seems to be functioning perfectly. Not it matters if the coolant still itself sees crystalline. Not it matters if the mechanic to me says that not it is necessary yet. Every 24 months, religiously, the system complete itself drains, itself cleans and itself fills with coolant fresh of the specification exact of the manufacturer. Habit number 16. To inspect and to clean the air filter every 10,000 kilometers without to skip me even one. The air filter is literally the lungs of your engine, but is one of those pieces that the people forgets completely until the auto starts to behave bad. During years I also it ignored, trusting in that the interval of 30,000 kilometers that suggests the manual was sufficient. I was completely wrong, and to me it cost money and fuel wasted. An air filter dirty can to increase your consumption of fuel until a 20%. Allow to me to repeat that because it is critical. 20%. That means that if normally you spend $100 a month in gasoline, you could to be spending $120 simply because your filter is obstructed. Multiplied by 12 months are $240 annual thrown to the trash. And that is only the fuel. The engine also suffers because not it can to breathe adequately. The mixture air fuel itself goes out of balance. The sensors have that to compensate. All the system works less efficiently. My routine actual is simple but extremely effective. Every 10,000 kilometers exact, I mark an appointment with myself to review the air filter. Not it is only an inspection superficial. I take out the filter completely of its box. It I examine under good light like a detective looking for evidence. I look for oil, the which would indicate that there is a leak in some side of the system of admission. I look for moisture excessive, that could to mean that the drain of the box of the filter is obstructed. I look for deformations or damages in the frame of the filter that could to permit that enter air without to filter. If the filter is moderately dirty but still has life useful, it I clean. Not only it I shake and it I return to put. I have a routine specific. First it I hit softly against a surface hard for to eliminate the dust superficial loose. Then I use air compressed, but here is the trick critical that much people does wrong. I blow the air from the side clean toward the side dirty, from inside toward outside. This pushes the dirt out of the fibers of the filter in place of to push it more deeply. Never I use water nor any liquid cleaner unless it be a filter specifically designed for to wash itself. Habit number 15. To change the spark plugs preventively according to the specifications without to wait to that they failed. This is the error that commits more of the 80% of the drivers, and to me I include in that group during my first years. They wait to that the spark plugs fail completely before of to change them. I learned this lesson of the manner most expensive and stressful possible. They were the 2 of the early morning. I returned from a trip of work by a road almost deserted. Of sudden, my auto began to shake violently. The light of check engine started to blink. The engine sounded as if it had hiccups. To me, I stayed stranded in middle of the nothing waiting to a tow truck during 3 hours in full winter. The diagnosis was simple but frustrating. A spark plug had failed completely. The spark plugs not to you advise amiably when they go to die. Not there is a light of warning specific, not there is a sound gradual that worsens. One day your auto turns on perfectly, to the next it seems that it has a disease terminal. It is all or nothing. Here is the trick that to me taught my mechanic of trust after of that incident. The spark plugs have a life useful, specific and predictable. The spark plugs of copper conventional last approximately 30,000 kilometers. Those of platinum arrive to 60,000. Those of iridium can to reach 100,000. These not are numbers arbitrary, are based in tests extensive of wear of the electrode. Not wait to see signals of failure. The signals not appear until that already it is too late. In place of that, mark in your calendar of maintenance the replacement preventive based in the type of spark plug that you have and the conditions of driving. Habit number 14. To clean the throttle body every 40,000 kilometers as an unavoidable appointment. Permit to me to tell you about the day that my auto began to have personality own and not of the type good. It accelerated when to it gave the desire. It itself drowned in the traffic lights of manner random. The idle sounded like a blender old trying of to grind stones. The symptoms appeared gradually during weeks until that itself they turned impossible of to ignore. I took the auto to the workshop, fearing a repair expensive of transmission or system of injection. The diagnosis was surprisingly simple: throttle body completely dirty. The throttle body is literally the throat of your engine. It is where the air enters before of to mix itself with the fuel. Inside there is a valve butterfly, a disc of metal that itself opens and itself closes for to control exactly how much air enters. Imagine you trying to breathe through a straw that someone plugged partially with honey sticky. That is exactly what to it happens to your engine when this component itself dirties. With the time, carbon, oil and residues of combustion itself accumulate in the edges of that valve butterfly. It itself forms a crust black and sticky that prevents that the valve itself close completely. The sensors of position itself confuse. The computer of the engine not knows exactly how much air is entering. It begins to make adjustments compensatory that never are perfect. The result is exactly what I experienced: behavior erratic, consumption increased, loss of power, idle, unstable. Here is what I discovered about this maintenance critical. Every 40,000 kilometers, without any exception, I clean the throttle body completely. Not it is a procedure complicated nor requires tools special. You remove the duct of admission that connects to the throttle body, that usually are only some clamps. You buy a spray cleaner specific for throttle body. It costs around of $10 or $12. You spray generously all the surfaces internal, especially around of the valve butterfly. You use a brush of teeth soft or a rag for to rub gently the dirt adhered. You leave that itself it dry completely before of to return to assemble. The process complete takes maybe 30 minutes including the time of drying. The cost total is less of $20 if it you do you same. But if not it you do, your engine will develop problems of acceleration, idle and consumption that can to cost to you hundreds in diagnoses and repairs unnecessary. Habit number 13, to verify the pressure of the tires weekly with my own manometer digital reliable. This story changed completely my perspective about something so simple like the pressure of air in the tires. During years I drove with approximately 3 psi less of what recommended in all my tires. Not it was much, barely perceptible. The auto not itself felt bad. The tires not itself saw deflated visually. I thought that not mattered much and that it was well so. The result of that ignorance to me cost more of what I imagined. I spent approximately $200 extra in fuel that year only by that pressure low. Besides, I had that to change the tires 15,000 kilometers before of what expected because itself they had worn of manner unequal by the sides. The pressure correct of the tires not is a suggestion flexible, it is science pure with consequences measurable. When the tires are low, the surface of contact with the asphalt increases. That creates more resistance to the rolling. Your engine has that to work more hard for to move the same weight to the same speed. It consumes more fuel for to compensate that resistance additional. The tires also itself wear of manner unequal, concentrating the wear in the edges in place of to distribute it uniformly. But here is the datum specific that more to me impacted when it I learned. By each psi low of pressure, you lose approximately 3% of efficiency in fuel. That cannot to sound like much, but the numbers itself accumulate rapidly. If your auto requires 32 psi and you drive with 29, you are losing 9% of efficiency. In a year of driving average, that itself translates literally in hundreds of dollars wasted that simply itself evaporate in the air. My ritual weekly actual is religious and unnegotiable. Each Sunday by the morning, before of that the tires itself heat by to drive, I take out my manometer digital. Not me, I trust of those machines noisy of the gas stations that often are miscalibrated or damaged. I invested $20 in a manometer digital of quality that I keep in my trunk. I verify the 4 tires more the of spare. I adjust the pressure exactly according to the specification that is printed in a label inside the frame of the door of the driver. Not I use the pressure maximum that is printed in the side of the tire. That is the pressure maximum that the tire can to support, not the pressure optimum for your vehicle specific. Habit number 12. To rotate the tires every 10,000 kilometers religiously without to skip me never. I discovered this secret of manner accidental and expensive. I noticed that my tires front themselves were wearing approximately the double of fast that the rear. When finally I had that to replace them, the front were completely smooth while the rear still had more of the half of its life useful. Basically, I was wasting 50% of my investment in tires by pure ignorance. My mechanic to me explained something that should to be obvious, but that never nobody to me had taught. The tires not itself wear uniformly by nature due to how function the vehicles. The tires front have 3 jobs extremely demanding. First, they support the weight of the engine that in the majority of the autos is mounted in the part front. Second, they handle all the steering, turning constantly while you navigate curves and changes of lane. Third, in many autos with traction front, also they handle the major part of the braking due to the transfer of weight toward forward. The tires rear, in comparison, have a life relatively easy. Only they roll in line straight the major part of the time. Not they turn for to direct. They receive less weight. In autos of traction front, neither even they are propelling the vehicle. Without rotation regular, you end in the situation in which I was. Buying tires new when the half of your investment original still has much life useful available. It is like to throw money to the trash. The rotation of tires every 10,000 kilometers distributes the wear equitably between the 4 wheels. It is like to rotate the players in a team sporting for that all work equal and nobody itself exhaust prematurely. The pattern specific of rotation depends of if your tires are directional or not directional and if your auto is traction front, rear or 4 wheels. The rule basic for the majority of the autos of traction front with tires not directional is to cross them. Front right goes to rear left, front left goes to rear right, rear come toward forward of the same side. Many workshops do this free if you buy the tires with them, or they charge between $10 and $20 if you pay for the service. I learned to do it myself with a jack hydraulic and supports. It takes maybe 40 minutes to do it carefully. Since that, I implemented this practice religiously every 10,000 kilometers. My tires last 40% more time than before. Habit number 11, to use exclusively premium fuel with the least content of ethanol available. Know you which is the error most expensive that commit millions of drivers each week? To look for the gas station most economic of the town. During my first year's driving, I did exactly the same. If a station sold the gasoline 5 cents more cheap by litre, there went I thinking that I was being intelligent with my money. Great error that almost to me costs thousands of dollars in repairs. The fuel cheap can to save to you some few dollars today, but to you it will cost thousands to long term. The problem principle is the ethanol, that additive supposedly ecological that seems inoffensive but that in reality is a killer silent for your system of fuel. The ethanol is alcohol, and the alcohol has a property chemical problematic. It is hygroscopic. That means that it absorbs moisture from the air like a sponge desperate. Each time that you open the cap of your tank, enters air humid. The ethanol in your fuel absorbs that moisture. With the time, you have water mixed with your gasoline. That moisture itself converts in corrosion inside of your tank of fuel. The walls internal of steel start to oxidize, forming particles of rust that float in your fuel. Those particles travel through of the lines of fuel, pass by the filter, and eventually arrive to the system of injection. But the damage not ends there. The moisture also causes leaks in the gaskets of rubber. The gaskets itself swell and itself become soft. They lose its form. They start to drip. The filters of fuel itself obstruct more rapidly with that mixture of water, rust and residues. The injectors of fuel itself plug with a paste sticky that no additive can to clean completely once that itself it forms. It is like to have an infection chronic in the veins of your auto. The point of inflection for me arrived when I started to have problems strange of starting. The engine at times started well, other times it hesitated. Some days the idle was rough without reason apparent. I took the auto to 3 workshops different and nobody could to find the problem specific. Finally, a mechanic old with decades of experience to me did a question simple. Where was I buying my gasoline? When to him I said that always I went to the station most cheap, he denied with the head. To me he explained that those stations frequently have the tanks most old and the fuel with more content of ethanol, at times until 15%. I did a change radical. I started to fill exclusively in stations of brand recognized that announce fuel top tier. I looked for specifically stations that sold gasoline with maximum 5% of ethanol or even without ethanol when it was available. Yes, it costs approximately 20 cents more by litre. in a tank of 50 litres are $10 additional. But the results were immediate and dramatic. Habit number 10. To drive anticipating the traffic to avoid sudden brakings and accelerations constantly. The difference fundamental between an auto that lasts 100,000 kilometers and one that arrives to the million not is in the brand nor in the model. It is in how you step the accelerator and the brake each day. I observed something fascinating when I started to lend attention to the taxi drivers veterans, those that drive 200,000 kilometers a year and maintain the same vehicle functioning during years. Never, absolutely never, they accelerate like pilots of Formula One. Their secret not is speed, it is smoothness absolute. Each acceleration abrupt is literally a micro-earthquake for your engine. The pistons hit more hard against the walls of the cylinders. The oil itself thins temporarily by the heat extreme generated. The transmission suffers a stress unnecessary changing under load heavy. The supports of the engine itself flex violently. It is like to ask to a marathoner that he run like sprinter during 40 kilometers followed. Simply not, it works and causes injuries. My technique personal itself has converted in second nature after years of practice conscious. I imagine constantly that I have a glass of water full until the edge balancing itself in the dashboard. Each movement that I do, each touch of the accelerator, each application of the brake, each change of lane, must be so smooth that neither a single drop itself spill from that glass imaginary. When I see that the traffic light ahead is in red, I lift the foot from the accelerator immediately and I leave that the auto roll. Not. I maintain speed until the last second and then I brake hard, I anticipate. When I need to change of lane, not it I do abruptly. I plan with anticipation, I signal with time, and I move gradually. When I accelerate from a stop, I press the pedal smoothly and of manner progressive, not there are stomps dramatic. All is fluid, continuous, almost meditative. The results are absolutely amazing. Habit number 9. To change the brake fluid every 2 years without to matter how it itself sees or how it itself feels the pedal. This is the error that literally almost to me costs the life in a road of mountain and that never I will return to repeat. The brake fluid itself sees exactly equal after of 5 years that when it was new, transparent, clean, apparently perfect. But that appearance is completely deceptive and dangerous. The brake fluid has a property chemical critical that the majority of the people ignores. It is hygroscopic, which means that it absorbs moisture from the air constantly. Through of the hoses of rubber microscopically porous, through of the deposit that not is perfectly sealed, the moisture finds its path toward the liquid. With the time, that liquid that should to be 100% chemical pure itself contaminates with water. The water and the brakes are a combination dangerous by a reason specific of physics. The water boils at 100 degrees centigrade. The brake fluid of quality boils at more of 200 degrees. When you brake hard repeatedly, especially descending a mountain long, the brakes generate heat massive. If your liquid has content of water, that water boils and itself converts in vapor. The vapor is compressible. The liquid not it is. When you step the pedal of brake and there is vapor in the lines, the pedal literally itself sinks toward the floor while the vapor itself compresses. Your brakes fail just when more you them need. It is absolutely terrifying to feel how your foot touches the floor while your auto continues accelerating cuesta abajo without control. To me it happened. I was descending a mountain after of a trip long. I had been using the brakes constantly to control the speed. Of sudden, the pedal itself felt spongy. Then it itself sank more of what normal. My heart almost itself stops when to me I gave account of what was happening. I had that to use the brake of hand and to change to gears low for finally to stop the auto. It was an experience traumatic that never I want to repeat. But the moisture in the brake fluid causes another problem less dramatic but equally expensive. The water oxidizes the system internally. The cylinders masters itself corrode. The calipers develop rust internal. Habit number 8. To inspect meticulously the exhaust system every year looking for any leak or sign of corrosion. The exhaust system is probably the component most forgotten and underestimated in all the auto. Nobody thinks in him until that the auto sounds like a tractor destroyed roaring by the street. But a leak silent and invisible can to be killing your engine slowly without that you have the least idea of what is happening. I learned this of the manner most difficult and expensive. My auto started to consume oil mysteriously. Not there was leaks visible in the floor. Not there was smoke blue from the exhaust. But the level of oil lowered consistently between changes. I took the auto to 2 workshops different. Both to me they said that I needed rings of piston new, a job of more of $2,000. Almost it did. But something to me made to look for a third opinion. I found to a mechanic veteran with more of 40 years of experience. He spent 2 hours inspecting meticulously each system. Finally, he found something that the others had passed by high completely. A micro leak in the manifold of exhaust where itself it connects to the cylinder head. It was so small that not it made any noise audible. Not there was soot visible. But it was there. That small leak was creating a problem of back pressure. The gases of exhaust not could to go out freely. Part of those gases were being forced toward back, finding its path toward the crankcase through of the rings of piston. Those gases contaminated the oil, causing that itself it degraded more fast and creating pressure internal that forced the oil toward up consuming it. The repair was ridiculously simple. $50 of a new gasket and 30 minutes of work. The consumption of oil disappeared completely. I saved more of $1,800 in a reconstruction unnecessary of the engine. Habit number 7, to change the transmission oil every 50,000 kilometers religiously. The transmission oil is literally the blood vital of one of the components most expensive of to repair in any vehicle. A transmission reconstructed or replaced can easily to cost between $4,000 and $7,000 depending of the model. But the majority of the drivers ignore by complete this fluid critical until that already it is too late. I committed that error with my first auto and I paid the price complete. During years never I thought in the oil of the transmission. The auto changed well the speeds. Not there was noises strange. All seemed to be functioning perfectly. Then, around of the 180,000 kilometers, I started to notice changes hard occasional. Small jerks upon to change from second to third. Nothing dramatic, only slightly perceptible. It I ignored thinking that it was normal for an auto with that mileage. Error massive. 6 months after, the transmission failed completely. When they opened, the damage was obvious. The oil was black like tar and it smelled to burnt. It was full of particles, metallic, microscopic, filings of the gears and clutches that itself had been wearing. That oil contaminated had acted like sandpaper liquid circulating by all the components delicate. The repair to me cost $4,500, a blow financial devastating that to me taught a lesson expensive. The transmission is a box full of gears turning to thousands of revolutions by minute and clutches sliding under pressure massive. With each operation normal, itself they release particles microscopic. After 50,000 kilometers, that oil is exhausted. It has lost its properties lubricant. It is contaminated with metal. It itself has become more thin by the heat constant. It is full of acids of decomposition. Technically still permits that the transmission function but is causing wear accelerated invisible. My rule actual is mathematically simple and easy of to remember. Every 3 changes of oil of the engine, I do one of transmission. Habit number 6, to wash the engine with steam professionally every 6 months without fail. This habit sounds strange the first time that you it hear, but revolutionized completely the maintenance of my auto. To wash the engine regularly, not the exterior of the auto, the engine same. During years I thought that it was sufficient to maintain clean only what itself saw from outside. But I was completely wrong, and not I understood the consequences thermal. An engine dirty accumulates layers of grease, dust, oil spilled and residues of combustion. That dirt not is only unaesthetic, it acts like a blanket thermal insulating that prevents the dissipation correct of the heat. Your engine is designed for to dissipate heat through of its surfaces external. When those surfaces are covered of grime, the heat remains trapped inside. The result is overheating chronic of low level that accelerates the wear of all the components internal. Besides, the efficiency of the fuel itself reduces because the engine has that to work more hard when it is more hot than of ideal. It is like if your engine were running a marathon using a coat of winter in full summer. The temperature internal rises. The components itself expand more of what they should. The tolerances itself affect. The oil itself thins more of what normal. All functions under stress, thermal additional, completely unnecessary. Every 6 months I take my auto to a service specialized where they use steam of high temperature to clean the engine. The steam is the key because it penetrates the grease without necessity of jets of water to high pressure that can damage components electrical. The steam dissolves effectively all the dirt accumulated while is sufficiently soft with the sensors, connectors and modules electronic. The technician covers carefully the components electrical sensitive with bags plastic before to begin. Then he applies the steam methodically over all the surfaces of the engine, leaving that the heat and the moisture do the job to dissolve the grease. Finally, he uses rags to clean the residues loose. The engine remains shiny like new. If you decide to do it in home, you can use water to pressure very soft, but you must be extremely careful. Protect always the alternator, the box of fuses, the connectors of the system of injection, the module of ignition. Use degreaser specific for engines. Never use detergent of kitchen that can leave residues. Spray the degreaser, leave that it act some minutes, then rinse smoothly with water to low pressure. The difference is notable immediately after of the first cleaning. Habit number 5, to replace preventively all the hoses of coolant every 5 years. The hoses of rubber that transport coolant between the engine, the radiator, the thermostat and the core of the heater are constantly exposed to conditions extreme. Heat intense of the engine, pressure of the system of cooling, vibration constant, chemicals aggressive in the coolant. With the years, that rubber itself deteriorates inevitably. The hoses that were flexible when they were new itself become stiff like tubes of plastic. Small cracks begin to appear in the surface external. In some cases, the hose itself swells like a balloon in its points most weak. All these are signals of warning of that the failure is imminent, but the majority of the people them ignore completely until that it is too late. A leak small of coolant cannot seem critical at the beginning. You lose a little of liquid, you refill occasionally and you continue driving. But the problem real is that even a leak small introduces air to the system of cooling. That air forms bubbles that interfere with the circulation correct of the coolant. The coolant needs to flow continuously in a circuit closed. The bubbles of air create points where the coolant not can to arrive. Those areas of the engine begin to overheat locally. With the time, that can cause deformation of the cylinder head, failure of the gasket of cylinder head, or damage to the pistons. Repairs that easily cost $3,000 or more. Habit number 4, to keep the fuel tank always above a quarter of full without exceptions. How many times have you seen someone driving with the needle of the fuel glued to the E almost in reserve, thinking that they are maximizing the use of each drop? It is one of the errors most expensive that you can commit and that will shorten dramatically the life of your pump of fuel. The pump of fuel is submerged inside of the tank by a reason specific of engineering. It itself cools with the gasoline that it surrounds. When the level of the tank is low, the pump is partially exposed to the air. In place of to be surrounded of fuel fresh that it maintains cold, it is working in air hot. The pumps of fuel generate heat during operation normal. That heat needs to dissipate itself. When the pump not has sufficient fuel around to cool it, the temperature internal rises dramatically. The components electrical itself overheat. The bearings itself wear more fast. The motor of the pump works more hard of what designed. Eventually, it burns prematurely. But there is another problem equal of serious. In the bottom of each tank of fuel there are sediments. Particles of rust if the tank is of steel. Residues of combustion. Contaminants that have arrived with the fuel to long of the years. All that itself settles in the bottom. When you drive with the tank almost empty, the pump is literally sucking from that bottom where are all the sediments concentrated. Those sediments pass by the filter of fuel, shortening its life useful. Those that pass the filter go directly to the injectors, plugging them gradually. It is like to drink from the bottom of a bottle of water that has been sitting during months. All the grime is concentrated there. I have seen pumps of fuel that failed with barely 80 or 90,000 kilometers because their owners had the habit of to drive constantly in reserve. A pump of fuel new costs between $400 and $600 only in the piece. The hand of work can to add other $200 or $300 because in many vehicles modern you have that to lower the tank complete for to access to the pump. Besides, there is the bother and the danger of to stay stranded. My rule personal is absolutely simple and unshakable. Never, under no circumstance, I leave that the level of fuel lower more beyond of a quarter of tank. Habit number 3, to change the external fuel filter every 30,000 kilometers without to skip it. This habit applies principally to vehicles more old or certain models that still have filters of fuel external accessible. Many vehicles modern have the filter integrated with the pump inside of the tank, making it almost impossible to change regularly. But if your vehicle has a filter external mounted in some place of the chassis, generally near of the tank or below of the auto, to maintain it fresh is critical for the health of your system of fuel. The job of the filter is to trap contaminants before of that they arrive to the injectors. Particles of rust of the tank, sediments, water condensed, any impurity in the fuel. With tens of thousands of kilometers, that filter itself fills gradually. When it is obstructed, it restricts the volume of fuel that can to pass. Here is the part deceptive that makes that much people ignore the problem until that already it is too late. In idle and driving smooth, the engine barely needs fuel, so it functions perfectly normal even with a filter partially obstructed. All seems to be well. But when you step the accelerator to bottom for to overtake in the highway or to climb a hill pronounced, of sudden the engine needs all the volume of fuel that it can to get. The filter obstructed not can to supply sufficient. The engine itself stays without breath. It loses power dramatically. In some cases even it stutters or fails momentarily. This creates what itself calls a condition poor or lean, where there is more air than fuel in the cylinders. The mixtures poor are dangerous because they burn much more hot than the mixtures correct. Those temperatures excessive can literally to melt holes in the pistons or to burn the valves with sufficient exposure. But even before of to cause that damage extreme, the filter obstructed is killing your pump of fuel. The pump is designed for to push fuel through of a system with resistance normal. When it finds a filter plugged, it has that to work the double or the triple of hard for to maintain the pressure required. Habit number 2, to review and to adjust the alignment and the balancing every 20,000 kilometers without fail. Many drivers see the alignment like a luxury aesthetic or something that only itself does when the auto hits against a curb, but in reality it is one of the investments most intelligent for the longevity of all the chassis. An alignment incorrect means that your tires not are rolling parallel between them nor perpendicular to the asphalt. Basically, you are dragging the rubber against the pavement in place of to permit that it roll freely. This generates a wear unequal that can to destroy a set of tires expensive in barely the half of its life useful expected. But the damage goes much more beyond of the rubber. When the alignment is out of the specifications of factory, the engine has that to work more hard for to overcome the resistance additional and to maintain the vehicle in line straight, the what increases the consumption of fuel of form silent. Besides, if you feel a vibration in the steering wheel, you have a problem of unbalance. That vibration not is only annoying, it is a series of micro impacts that itself transmit directly to the bushings of the suspension, the terminals of steering and the bearings of the wheels. It is like if you were hitting each component with a hammer small thousands of times by minute. An investment of $50 every 20,000 kilometers to you will save hundreds of dollars in replacement premature of pieces of suspension and tires. My auto itself feels so stable and smooth to speeds of highway as if it were new, simply because never I permit that the vibrations or the pulls fatigue the metals of my steering. Habit number 1, to listen to the engine daily for to detect auditory changes of manner immediate. After to drive the same vehicle during almost 1 million of kilometers, my ear itself has converted in the tool of diagnosis most powerful of my arsenal, even by above of any scanner electronic. My routine is unshakable. Each morning, before of to go out, I dedicate 30 seconds exact to listen attentively the engine while it is in idle. An engine healthy has a sound constant, a symphony perfectly tuned of explosions controlled and pieces metallic moving in harmony. With the time, you develop the ability of to notice when an instrument of that orchestra detunes. I have achieved to detect a pump of water failing weeks before of that it dripped simply by a whistle almost imperceptible that before not was there. I have identified bearings of the alternator worn by a squeak subtle and problems of synchronization by a change minimum in the rhythm of the engine. This ability, that itself develops gradually with the practice daily, to me has saved more money than any other practice of maintenance. A Upon detecting a problem when it is barely a whisper, you avoid that itself it convert in a scream deafening that ends in a rupture catastrophic in middle of the road. Not ignore the sounds new. Your auto always to you will advise that something walks bad before of to give up by complete, only you have that to learn to listen.